I am the only woman in the family with 3 partners. Even if I angrily whipped them, they would never fight back. I demand the best food, the most exquisite clothes, and lose my temper with my partners at every turn. Only because I am the only daughter of the Duke, and my 3 partners are all extremely excellent. Until an outsider intruder came to the family. Compared with my willfulness and caprice, she is gentle and bright, and many vampires in the family are drawn to her. But she never relies on any partner. She lives a wonderful life alone with her baby. Gradually, my first partner began to dislike me for being too delicate.
Cassandra, you are too delicate and overbearing, not gentle like Julia at all. I'm going to find Julia.
At that time, my remaining 2 partners were indignant for me.
Victor, you chose to leave on your own. Don't ever come back to Cassandra again.
But it wasn't long before my second partner left me too. I looked at Lucien, the only one left by my side, my nose sore and full of grievance. Lucien, do you also think I have a bad temper?
Don't think that nonsense. They are ungrateful and don't know how to cherish you.
I thought Lucien would stay with me forever like this, until I saw with my own eyes that he knelt on one knee in front of Julia, looked at her affectionately, and begged for her touch. I turned around and ran, stumbling all the way, rushing into my father, the Duke's residence. Father, let me go to the next diplomatic marriage of the family. My father came to his senses, full of disbelief. The marriage partner of our family is our sworn enemy. Those vulgar werewolves. All the other women in the family hoped that they would not be chosen, but I, as the daughter of the most prestigious Duke, took the initiative to ask for the marriage. Nowadays, the living area of humans is getting larger and larger, and the number of demon hunters is also increasing. Vampires and werewolves have to unite through marriage to fight against those demon hunters. Unlike the promiscuous vampires, werewolves are powerful, savage, and have a beast-like possessiveness. They never share their partners with anyone. But even so, no woman is willing to go to the barbaric and dirty wolf den. My father's face turned cold, his tone almost questioning.
Did those 3 vampires do something to you again?
He looked gloomy to settle accounts with the 3 vampires, but I stopped him, grabbed his arm. I don't want my father to stand up for me anymore. I want to make a change. And she is eavesdropping, scheming. When Victor and Constantine wanted to terminate their partnership with me, I also ran to my father crying for help. But doing so only made the vampire named Julia move farther away from the family residence. Victor and Constantine never came back to me after all. Their cold eyes at that time still make my heart tremble to this day.
Cassandra, put away your bullying nature. Julia did nothing wrong, but she was almost driven out of the clan because of you.
Without your father, the Duke, you are nothing. I can't believe I once liked something as disgusting as you.
That night, I curled up in Lucien's arms, the only one left by my side, and cried until I fainted. Lucien, they all don't want me anymore. I only have you. At that time, Lucien would still patiently stroke my head and comfort me gently. But now, even he doesn't want me anymore. The room fell into silence until my father let out a heavy sigh. I actually know very well that I am my father's only daughter. He has doted on me like a princess since I was a child, so he naturally can't bear to marry me to those vulgar and savage werewolves. But my father didn't want to see me so sad either. So, my father told me that a lottery would be held in the family 3 days later to decide the marriage partner in this way. Before that, I had plenty of time to think about whether to marry a werewolf, and it was not too late to go to him after I made up my mind. I agreed. I planned to give them 3 more days to change their minds, waiting for them to really realize how deeply I love them. When I walked out of my father's room, I saw Lucian waiting outside the door at a glance. He leaned against the doorframe, holding a delicate and dripping rose in his fingers, staring down in a trance. I recognized that rose. Only Julia could grow this color. It was the flower he had begged from Julia today by kneeling on one knee and fawning on her with his head down. At the thought of this, my eyes began to turn red again. But I restrained my emotions, calmed down for a while, and walked towards the door. Seeing me come out, Lucian hurriedly hid the flower in his arms. So hypocritical. Then he bent his eyebrows and put on the familiar smile that once made my heart skip a beat. I didn't look at him, but walked straight past him. Seeing that I ignored him, Lucian hurriedly followed me and asked where I was going. I didn't look back and walked on for a while, but suddenly found that the footsteps following me were gone. I turned around sharply, only to find Lucian standing far away from me, frowning and carefully protecting the rose in his hand. The flower was tottering in the wind, about to be broken by the wind. My heart trembled violently, and I shouted at him angrily, questioning why he didn't come up. I shouted more and more anxiously, my voice echoing in the night, and the vampires in the distance cast strange glances upon hearing the noise. But Lucian just raised his eyelids slightly, looked at me indifferently, and the light stretched his shadow very long, full of alienation. My heart panicked inexplicably. I stamped my feet on the spot, gritted my teeth, and finally couldn't help but walk towards him. But the next second I heard his voice, every word piercing my heart.
Cassandra, let's end it here.
There was only me left at home, and Lucian left me in the end. The fire in the heater crackled. I wanted to add more firewood to it, but my hand was burned by the spark. Grievance welled up subconsciously. I wanted to cry, but suddenly realized that no one would feel sorry for me anymore. My nails dug into my palms, and I stood up abruptly, running outside. I made up my mind that I must win Lucian back. I ran in a hurry, even losing one high heel. I stumbled all the way, not knowing how many times I fell and how many times I got up. Finally, I knocked on the door in such a mess, but it wasn't Lucian who opened the door. Victor was stunned when he saw me. His eyes fell on the wounds on me, and his face turned gloomy instantly. Vampires have strong self-healing abilities, but I was in no mood to heal my wounds, only eager to see Lucian. Perhaps in Victor's eyes, all this was just another trick of mine to gain sympathy. Victor was my first partner. When he was by my side, he was afraid that I would run into demon hunters, and even more afraid that I would get hurt. He always frowned and said I was reckless, but he would silently follow behind me to clean up the mess, and even willingly lead away those ferocious demon hunters for me. I was worried about his safety and turned back to look for him, but I was scolded by him. At that time, I quarreled with him. When tears welled up in my eyes, he softened his temper, leaned down, and gently kissed my eyelashes. He loved me so seriously and clumsily that he was even willing to die for me. I looked away and didn't look at him, but looked anxiously into the room. Seeing that he was ignored, Victor unconsciously clenched his hand holding the doorframe. Then he sneered and shouted into the room.
Lucian, why didn't you clean up the tail and let someone chase you? What if Julia finds out?
Then I saw Lucian come out with disheveled clothes and messy hair, with a fresh tooth mark on the side of his neck. The cold wind that was about to enter winter lashed me hard. I felt like I was falling into an ice cave, not because of the weather, but because of my heart. Lucian looked at Victor impatiently, and finally his eyes fell on me. I clearly saw a trace of irritability flash in his eyes. I stepped back subconsciously. Looking up, I could only see Victor's tight jawline. And Lucian walked up to me, still looking familiar and gentle, almost making me think I had just seen wrong. He took another step forward, put on a concerned gesture, and asked me how I was. I bit my lip. Hey, Lucian, I will never clamor for the most beautiful skirt again, never dislike the jewelry you gave me is not gorgeous enough, and never pester you to talk when you are tired. You are my only partner now. I don't want anyone else. Don't leave me alone, okay? I spoke more and more anxiously, almost bursting into tears, and didn't notice the sudden change of expression next to me. Lucian listened without reaction, his eyes fixed on my bruised knees. Unconsciously, I showed the spoiled willfulness I had been spoiled in the past, and even wanted to hug him. Lucian promised to stay with me forever. He can't break his promise. But I missed it because he avoided me. I walked into the house and sat on the sofa padded with soft velvet. Everything around me was in order and full of life. The picture frames on the wall were carefully wiped, and delicious fruits were placed on the table. I thought of my house. Since Victor and Constantine left, Lucian did ask the servants to take care of it, but his eyes were always not at home. Perhaps at that time he had already decided to leave. As I thought this, grievance welled up again. Why did everyone leave me as soon as Julia came? Suddenly, a low conversation came from the inner room.
What, soft-hearted? I tell you, if you regret it, don't think about coming here again.
Constantine's voice was full of provocation. I hurried to lean over to listen, but only heard Victor's cold response. He took everything for granted and portrayed me as a thorough villain. He said that he was afraid that I would go to cry to my father, the Duke, again, and that I would trouble Julia again. But he forgot that when he wandered here and had no fixed abode, it was me who went to ask my father to take him in and give him a warm home. It was also he who confessed to me first and hoped to become my partner. Constantine let out a laugh, which sounded dismissive. In his eyes, I was just a little girl who could only cry and could not make any waves. Hearing these words, I smiled at myself. The footsteps were approaching, and someone squatted in front of me. Lucian lowered his eyes and wiped the blood on my knees little by little with a cloth towel, his tone still the familiar gentle tone.
Cassandra, I have decided to conclude a contract with Julia. Now she is my partner. You are the only daughter of the Duke. There are so many excellent people in the family. You can choose anyone.
He even dared to smile at me.
Didn't you always say that you would drive us three out and find someone more powerful again?
Those were all angry words. Why didn't he care before, but now he uses these words to hurt me? I looked at him through tearful eyes and shook my head desperately, unable to believe all this. Lucian stared at me darkly, slowly reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of my eyes, and rubbed my head like comforting a puppy. I smiled, and I knew clearly that there was no place for me here. Just as I got up to leave, a loud bang broke the calm. I looked back and saw Julia's child standing there with a fierce face, holding a small bottle in his hand. The child froze for a moment when he met my eyes, and then burst into earth-shaking cries.
You are a bad person! You came to bully Mom again!
The next second, the wooden door was slammed open, a cold wind poured in, and a hand squeezed my neck hard. Constantine's eyes turned red with anger, and a cold smile curved at the corner of his mouth.
Bullying Julia is not enough. Now you dare to come and bully her child. Cassandra, you are so shameless.